Hello, ladies. Happy New Year. Welcome to part one of the Rebrand with Me series. This is going to be where I peel back the curtain and do my own brand audit. So I'm really excited about this. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and it seemed like a really good time to do it. Like it's the new year. There's some big shifts that have happened in my business over the last couple of years, and I think that it's time that my brand really reflects that. So this is a series that I'm kicking off today, and it's going to run for a while. It's going to run for about the next maybe 5 or 6 weeks. We'll see how the process goes. I hope you all had a great holiday season. Let me know if you're watching. I'm going to check in with the group and make sure I'm showing up here. And introduce yourselves in the comments. It's fun to see who all could make it. And then if you're watching on the replay too, as usual, put hashtag replay in the comments, and then we can get started. So yeah, let me know too. How's everyone's New Year? How was your holidays? It feels like we've been kind of in like this vortex, right? Like where, we fell into like a different time zone and now coming back into normal, like back into the normal routine. So my family and we spent the holidays with both sides of our family, which was really fun. Had some just really relaxing, fun time together. And then for New Year's, we do a trip every year to Canada with another couple who has kids our age. So that's really fun for them to get to play and just get to relax. We love Canada. It's just, we're very close to the border, so that's not too tricky to get up there. And then in between both of those things, I actually had kind of a run-in with a bush. So I was helping slash around, do some slashing around a deck that we're trying to remove on our property, and ran into a bush and scraped my eye up. So that's why I'm wearing my glasses. You guys are getting a rare sighting of me in my glasses. I don't generally like to wear them because they bother me. But anyway, my name is Allie. If you don't know me, if you're new to the group, welcome. I help women service providers create brands and websites that actually book clients. That's a big piece of what I do, is not just creating these beautiful things, although I love to make things beautiful. But there's a lot of elements that can make your brand or website actually get results. And that's what we want. We want them to book you clients. We want you to grow your business using your brand and website. These are really, really powerful tools for your business if they're done right. And there's a lot of ways to do them wrong, and there's a lot of ways to do them right. And so that's one of my focuses. So say hi again if you're joining me. If you're live here, say hashtag replay if you're joining on the replay. And then before we dive into today, I'm going to do my own brand audit. I've done some in the past here in the group, but we're going to be looking at my brand. And I want to give you a little bit of context about, some of the background, some of why I'm doing this. To be honest, this is a little bit nerve-wracking. It's a little scary to kind of walk you through my own rebrand and even my own brand audit. There, I'm going to show some parts of my brand that I'm not necessarily very proud of. As an expert in this area, it is a little bit vulnerable to show you, like point out the imperfections of my brand, things that I've known in the background for a while. But at the same time, my business has evolved just like a lot of yours has. It started out one thing, it's been reshaped into something else. And so I think that it's very normal for a brand to evolve, to get better, to change. And so, I'm here to teach you how to do this well. And, I want you to be able to see and take the experience from me and be able to apply it. I know, like a lot of us, it's kind of like the cobbler shoes phenomenon is just very common, right? Like our own business takes a back seat to our clients. And so a lot of times we're kind of focused on those kinds of things. And so my brand's often taken a backseat, even though I've known for a while that there needed to be some changes. And, with the type of clients that I work with the kind of the services that I provide that are very high touch, very customized, it was time that I have a brand that reflects my excellence. And I talk a lot to you about that, right? Like that I teach you that your brand should really reflect the excellence that you provide. It's a translator. It is something that helps you visually showcase how great you are at what you do. It distinguishes you. And so, being transparent it has been interesting as I've set out to start this process. I've had a lot of the feelings that my clients have that I hear from them, right? Like there are moments where I've had thoughts of like, what's my brand going to be? What's it going to end up looking like? And it's so funny. I've had clients say that to me. And what I tell them is that your brand is revealed in the process, but you have to take the steps. Like you have to go through that process to see it. It's not like you're just going to all at once, it's all going to once going to drop on you or me as the brand designer. The strategy that we start with helps guide the decisions moving through it. And through that process is when things start coming to surface of what it should be, what those decisions should be. And so that's going to be the case for me. And then, if you've been around this group for any amount of time, my emphasis on making thoughtful decisions around your brands, not just choosing your favorite colors or your favorite fonts or, picking something off of Pinterest that looks pretty, but being guided instead by your target market, like making decisions about what would appeal to them, what actually speaks your message, so that everything is cohesive, so that the things work together to communicate to your target market in a variety of ways. And you don't know what it's going to be until you take the steps. I've also had the thought like, well, what if it doesn't work out? Like, what if I, go through this process and I don't land on something I'm happy with? And again, I know that's something my clients have had, thoughts my clients have had going into it. I know that's probably something you have all thought about too, as you've, if you've, ready to make a brand investment in branding, or even in anything else. Like anytime we make an investment in branding or any kind of investment in our business, we often have that fear of like, well, what if it doesn't work out? But you never know until you try. And so that's one thing I've coached myself on is I don't know until I try. I encourage my clients to take the leap of faith. And so I am going to as well. The truth is, if I stay where I am, I'll never get to those big, huge goals that I have for my business. I talk a lot about those big, scary dreams we all have. Like every single one of you is doing your business, not just because you want to pile up cash, but because you have something that you're working toward, whether it's your dream house or your doing vacation or leaving your 9 to 5 or retiring your husband. And so I have those as well in my own business. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit more about like the intricacies of why I'm rebranding, why I'm switching things up. I'm also going to show you my existing brand and talk about what is not aligned now and how, what I want to move toward, and some goals moving forward. So it's a visual process. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can actually kind of go on this journey with me. Let me know too, if you're watching, if you can see that screen, and then we'll get started. So first off, why am I rebranding? When I first started my business, I started like most people do, not knowing who my target market was. I was kind of serving anyone and everyone. And I will tell you that I don't think that's wrong. I think that if you are brand new to business, that's exactly where you should be, because you don't know who your target market should be until you actually get out there and work with people, until you have some experience in the trenches and you find out like through that process, like, oh, I really enjoy this particular type of client. I really want to do this one thing. You don't know that until you do it. You can't just arbitrarily pick your target market when you have no context. So at that time, I didn't really know who I wanted to work with. I was kind of taken on any client. And so I did create my brand then at the beginning. I mean, I was going into branding. I was going into website design. So it was important that I had a brand. But I didn't have that clear picture. And now I do. 7 years later, this month, I am celebrating my 7 years in business. And I am clear on who I want to serve, who I love working with, the clients that light me up. I have a much more nuanced understanding of their challenges, of the things that they're working through, of, I hear the same things again and again. The more clients I've worked with, there are always these common themes of fears that they have. And so I have such a much clearer picture of who that target market is that I think now going back, I'm able to make better branding decisions of things that will appeal to them and, will attract them. And the same thing goes for my message. At the time, I knew I had marketing, branding, website design experience. I knew some fundamental things about it. But over the years, I've learned so much more. I've gotten so much more in depth about that. And so, I really wanted to dig in deeper on that message. and I think my brand can reflect that in more powerful ways now that I have such clarity in it. Also, over the years, there've been a lot of changes in my offers and my prices and my services. And the way that I conduct my projects, I have a very streamlined, thoughtful process that I bring each client through. It's very like high touch, collaborative, and I do focus a lot on the experience of it. It's a higher end experience than something when buying a logo off Fiverr. And so my brand needs to reflect that as well, that this is a higher end service. Also, we'll talk about this in a minute, but there's a lot of brand inconsistencies, right? Like my own brand doesn't follow all of my own advice. And that's because that's advice that I've developed over the years with lots of experience, with people actually going through the process and working with clients, and helping them real time. So I also have never actually gone through the current process that I use. This is a process that has evolved over time. And I want that experience too, to be on my end of seeing it play out in my own brand. I think that would be useful to me and even making it better for clients moving forward. And I want to include more of my story. I think, I am not necessarily one of those personalities that loves to be front and center, that wants to be, right in the thick of everything, I'm more of like the back, like step back and observe. And so a lot of times I've kind of steered away of including much of my own story or my own life, my personal details, because I was like, for a long time, I was like, well, nobody cares. But I know that I care when I see others do it. And so that's part of something that I want to include more of as I move forward in branding. So this was my existing mood board here. And, it's the one, I don't actually even remember if it's the original one I created. I think I had something similar and it maybe have tweaked it over the years. But basically what I was going for at the beginning was I wanted something like clean and minimal and modern and feminine. And at the time there was kind of like this prevailing like clean minimalistic style that was popular. And so, I wanted that too. And so this is what I created. And I don't think there's anything like inherently wrong with it. It's not a bad mood board. It's just, I want to create something a little more distinctive, and a little bit more in line with what I do today. So I'm going to be looking back at this, and we'll be doing one of the series is going to be touching on creating a new board that's more in line with the current style or vision I'm going for. So my colors are a little piecemeal, and that's because when I originally chose them, I think I originally had like greens and grays, and then it seemed a little bit too masculine. And so I wanted to bring in some other things. I did choose them thoughtfully. Like as far as greens, I wanted something that kind of spoke to that like natural growth mindset type thing. And then blue is a color that color psychology wise, like brings about trust. So I wanted to convey that clients can trust me, that we're working toward growth in their business. And then I added in that light blush pink because I wanted to bring in a more feminine style into my brand, because I love working with women in business. I love supporting their businesses and seeing women business owners thrive. So those were where I started with. And then there was this lighter green, which I don't actually use that much anymore. But that was in the original palette. And then a few years later, when I started to get into, I created a course and I have had other programs and digital products. I was building a lot of sales pages. And I know that, when it comes to sales pages, the brighter color buttons get clicked more. And that's also, something the coach I was working with at the time had mentioned. And so I kind of brought it in just for the buttons, and then found that like it is really useful to have something a little brighter. So it started kind of morphing into the rest of my brand. But the problem is it doesn't, like, now the color palette is a little bit, it doesn't really all match or fit together well. I think it's a little bit piecemeal, and like the pink and the green don't like kind of clash. So I end up a lot of time when I'm creating assets for my brand, using like the pink and the blue together and then the green and the light pink together. But then, overall consistency suffers too. So this is something that I'm really excited to look at. I still love some of the original thought behind the colors, but I think that there could maybe be some tweaks and changes based on the mood board that I come up with. And if you've been around and gone and done some of my challenges, you know that I don't pick colors first. We do the mood board first, and the colors tend to choose themselves. So I think that that was something that will kind of just happen in the process. But I'm excited to see what they are. So this is my logo. You might have seen it around this group. And I actually think, like, I've actually get lots of compliments on my logo. I don't think there's anything horrible about it. The little tree emblem I went with because, again, I wanted to speak of my messaging to include this idea of like growth, of flourishing, those kinds of things. And so I used that tree symbol in the eye of my name. And again, but the issue with this though is that I don't actually use any of those fonts anymore, and even the colors aren't really my brand colors. So there's definitely some cohesive things lacking in the cohesive elements of my brand. There's actually the original gray color is one of the leaves of the logo, and yeah, none of those fonts are what I use. So there's some work here I think I can do. I don't, and again, we'll see as the process unfolds, if it's going to be just a refresh of this logo or if I end up going with something completely different. So I'm excited to kind of delve into that. These are my fonts, and this is actually an area of my brand that I think needs some of the most work. I originally kind of just found things that I liked without too much thought behind it. And a lot of it was sort of like out of necessity, right? Like the time came, I needed something. And so I just pulled together something. And that's not how I recommend my clients do it. That's not how I recommended people do it back then. But, it was one of those things, like my own business got pushed back. And so I chose fonts that are free fonts. And this is now something that I highly recommend against, because what happens is what happened to me, and I learned this the hard way, is that you will start seeing your fonts everywhere. And this is particularly the case with this accent font. It's called Brittany. It's a free font. It's available on Canva, and I see it everywhere, like everywhere. And so it's actually, I kind of cringe every time I see it, because we don't want our fonts to be, our brand elements, whatever it is, to be everywhere. We want our brand to be distinctive. And if you're using things that everybody else is using, then you kind of blend in. And so that's kind of what happened with my fonts. And so this is definitely something that I'm really looking forward to changing and looking at. I highly recommend looking for a font that costs some money, that is like a high quality, unique font. It doesn't have to be anything like really crazy or different, but something that is a little bit, you don't see everywhere. Especially with script fonts, they're really recognizable. And that is the case with Brittany. Like I said, I see it everywhere. There's certain fonts out there that just tend to get used a lot, circulate around a lot. And so I'll be looking at these things. It's okay to use a Google font for your paragraph font for sure. I mean, they load that faster on websites. And it's, paragraph font just needs to be readable. But it's for your title font and your accent font. It's good if you can find something that's a little bit different. And then for patterns, again, this wasn't something that I spent a whole lot of time on. I never really found something that I liked a lot. So for a time, I would use that geometric background, and then I've also used other things. But I didn't find something that was really cohesive with my brand board. I've tried different things, and then I kind of steered away from all together. So I think there's a lot out there that I could do instead. And so that will definitely be part of my process. And I love using patterns with my clients and creating custom patterns for them that only they will ever have because I created them for them. And so I think that's something, fun that I could do with my own brand. So some of the rebrand goals that I have are, I want to really develop a more unique, distinctive style that is really centered around my target market. Now that I have this fuller understanding of who they are and what they need and what they want, I think that will be so much easier. And then, picking elements that really speak to the higher end, higher quality experience that I provide my clients. Like I said, it is kind of a white glove service. I'm not Fiverr or, on Upwork or anything like that. I want more consistency in my message. I want my elements to support that and be a little bit more cohesive. And I want to go through my own signature branding process. I've spent a lot of time over the years developing something that is my own signature process that really is successful in helping my clients create effective brands. And so I want to do it too for myself. So I think that'll be really fun. I'm really excited to dive in. Next week, I'm going to kick off with my own brand strategy. I'm going to be treating myself as a client and actually going through the document I provide clients on brand strategy and thinking through things like messaging and target market and all of those aspects that are important as we are, looking forward to branding and creating that signature distinctive brand that's going to make you stand out, that's going to make revenue in your business. So that's the plan for me. And I would love to hear your feedback through this process. If you want to, if you'd like to follow along, put series in the comments and I will make sure and tag you in the upcoming lives as I actually delve into some of these elements. And let me know if you have any questions along the way. If you have any feedback, if you have any thoughts about anything I'm working on, I'd love to hear it. It's an open door. So with that, I will let you go, but I hope you all have a great week.